We visited a mansion. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Input English. This is a story from my childhood and the childhood of my dad. So let's get started. When my dad grew up, he played in the neighborhood with a bunch of friends who were roughly the same age, and they had the run of the neighborhood. They would go from place to place and entertain themselves whenever they got together. One of the kids in this group of friends was the heir to a very large fortune. But he was just one of the kids in the neighborhood, and they played with him just like everybody else. But he lived in a mansion. So what's a mansion? Well, it's a really big house, usually with a lot of land around it, and it may be so big that it's impractical for the family to take care of it by themselves, so they frequently have servants. That was the case with this family. The money had been made many years earlier as a result of the Industrial Revolution. In the United States, the Industrial Revolution occurred in the early part of the 19th century, and there was a great deal of manufacturing going on, and that required energy. And the sources of energy back then included coal. And so coal mining was a big business in various places in the country. Members of this family had made a lot of money in coal mining. With this fortune, a very large house was built for the family. The house was built in the early years of the 20th century. So when my dad was growing up, this house was 20 or 30 years old. It was nearly new. The kids in the neighborhood had free run of all of the houses. They would come and go as they please, including this large house. Of course, when the kids played in this house, they became familiar with its features. This house had been built with some very interesting features. First of all, it was built on top of a coal mine. And so from the basement, it was possible to go into the coal mine and go out a secret entrance or exit away from the house. Also, this house was built with a lot of secret passages and concealed doors. These inquisitive children identified all of these and would explore the house in its outward appearance, but also behind the scenes, going through the secret passages. It was possible to go from various rooms in the house to other rooms in the house without being discovered. It was also possible to go from various rooms in the house down to the basement, then into the coal mine, and then exit the house through a secret exit. We were really not told about this house as we were growing up, but one day we were visiting that area, and my parents contacted the owner of the house to see if we could come by. We were invited to come visit and did so. When we got there, everyone introduced themselves. And of course, because I and my siblings had not grown up in this house, we didn't know about any of its features. When my dad started talking to the owner about some of the secret features, he stopped the conversation briefly and politely and ushered his children out of the room. He asked them to go play someplace else. He really didn't want to include them in this discussion. He and my dad then discussed some of the secret features in the house, and they were confirmed. Most of them were known to the owner, but not all. We went into various rooms and looked at this beautiful house. The kitchen was extraordinary. It was very large with lots of counter space, and the kitchen sink was made out of nickel. When I was a kid, I was expecting kitchen sinks would all be made of iron and would be covered in a white coating. That was a normal kitchen sink. So it was astonishing to see this metal kitchen sink, which had been polished. It was kept very clean. The owner confirmed that it was made out of nickel. Very expensive when it was built. In the library, there were lots of bookshelves, and my dad went over and pulled a book out and held it up. It had been cut out, and this was done to accommodate an electrical switch box that projected into the bookshelf. So this book always went in that location, and it really wasn't a book to be read. It was a book to hold that place because it had been modified to fit only there. They didn't take us into any of the secret passages, but they did show where some of the secret entrances were. And we were shown where there was a special little hole through which someone in the secret passage could look into the room and see what was going on and listen to conversations going on in that room. We were not taken down to the basement, nor were we shown the secret exit, but they were described to us in some detail. We didn't stay very long. It was very pleasant. My parents thanked the owner for the courtesy of letting us come by and see the house again. We said goodbye and went on our way. We never went back after that. The house is still privately owned, although it is in the National Registry of Historical Places. I've not disclosed its identity or location because it's a private home. It's not open to the public for exploration. That visit to that old house, that mansion, helped to kindle in me lifelong interest in imagination, adventure, secrets, mystery, and exploration. I find it interesting that my parents arranged that visit rather casually and at the spur of the moment, but it turned out to me to be a fairly important event because it allows me to consider what if. That's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you join us in future videos. See you soon.